Welcome to our first 4-H yoga class. We are so glad that you're here with us today. My name is Kelly Cody Brookins, and I am the Columbia County 4-H agent here in Georgia. I've been a yogi for most of my adult life. I started practicing yoga about 7 years ago, and I was hooked. Not only is yoga great for the body, but it's also great for your mind and your spirit. Yoga is a great way to get your body moving and to relax and escape from the busy world around you. 3 years ago, I attended a 2-day 4-H yoga workshop at Rock Eagle 4-H Center in Eatonton, Georgia. 4-H yoga is a program created and taught by the University of Arkansas Extension Program. 4-H yoga focuses on simple and fun movements that can be done at any age.
So, what exactly is yoga anyway? The practice of yoga began in India over 5,000 years ago. The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means to join or unite. One of the main goals of yoga is to create harmony between the human mind and body and with man and nature. There are many variations of yoga practices. During this 4-H summer yoga series, we will focus on the basics of yoga. We will begin today with an introduction to yoga, go over what you'll need to begin, as well as the importance of stretching and breathing. In later videos, we will begin learning yoga poses and then putting those poses into a flow routine. I will also show various position modifications for those that may need an easier or a more difficult pose option. As you begin to learn the foundations of yoga, try not to focus on getting the positions perfect. Focus on doing what your body allows you to do. If anything hurts, don't do it. And if you get tired, feel free to pause and take a rest for however long you may need. Yoga should be relaxing, and most importantly, yoga should be fun.
Before we begin, let's make sure we have what we need to practice. First, you want to make sure that you're dressed properly. Make sure you're in some comfy clothes that allow you to move around freely. Try not to wear baggy clothes though, because those may get in your way as you're moving through your poses. I personally like to wear black leggings and a couple of tank tops. If you have long hair, you'll also want to put it back in a ponytail as well, because your hair may get into your face. If you're dressed properly, the next thing you'll need is a space that is quiet and open and allows you to move around. You want to make sure no one's also going to interrupt you in your yoga practice. Your bedroom or your living room is usually a good choice. After you have your space, you want to make sure you have the equipment that you need. First things first, you gotta have a mat. But if you don't have a yoga mat, that is okay. You can also use a towel. Just make sure if you're using a towel, you're on a surface that's not slippery. This is a little bit slippery. A carpet, your towel wouldn't move around. You'll also wanna have a smaller towel. This comes in handy in case you get sweaty, and it's also good to wipe down your mat at the end of practice. You'll also want a water bottle. We'll take several water breaks during our practice. It's always good to stay hydrated. And lastly, I have my essential oil spray. I like to use essential oil spray to clean my mat before and after my practice. You can buy a bottle of your favorite scent online, or you can actually make your own. And next week in a supplemental video, I'm going to show you how to make your own mat spray right at home. I personally love the smell of tea tree oil and lavender. Tea tree helps to open up your senses, while the lavender is has a great calming effect. So now if you have everything together, let's get moving.
Before we begin learning our yoga practice, we must first do one very important thing. Do you stretch when you exercise? Unfortunately, many people do not take the time to stretch before and after physical activity. This can be dangerous. Stretching is a very important part of any kind of exercise routine. Stretching is the deliberate lengthening of muscles in order to increase muscle flexibility and joint range of motion. When you work out, your muscles contract or shorten. When you stretch, your muscles lengthen. If you do not first lengthen your muscles will end up trying to overcompensate for other ones that are too tight. This can lead to strains, discomfort, or even injury. Stretching first helps to loosen and lengthen the muscles, preventing possible injury. Stretching benefits people of all ages and should be part of any regular exercise program. Remember, always stretch first. There are some other great benefits to stretching. These include increased flexibility and joint range of motion. Flexible muscles can improve your daily performance. Tasks such as lifting boxes or even trying to tie your shoes can become easier and less tiring when you stretch. Stretching also helps to improve circulation. Stretching increases blood flow to your muscles. Good blood flow brings the nourishment your muscles need and gets rid of waste byproducts in the muscle tissue. Improved circulation can help shorten your recovery time if you've had any muscle injuries. It creates better posture. Frequent stretching can help keep your muscles from getting tight, allowing you to maintain proper posture. Good posture can minimize discomfort and keep aches and pains at a minimum. Stretching is also a great stress reliever. Stretching relaxes tight and tense muscles that often accompany stress. And lastly, stretching helps enhance your performance. Maintaining the full range of motion through your joints keeps you in better balance and your muscles work more efficiently. Coordination and balance will help keep you mobile and less prone to injuries from falls. Today I'm going to teach you a simple stretching routine that you can do before and after exercising, playing a sport, or before your 4-H yoga practice. Before we begin though, it is essential to practice proper stretching techniques. First, always warm up before diving into your routine. You can warm up by walking while gently pumping your arms, or you can do your favorite exercise at a low intensity for about 5 minutes. I personally like to run in place and do jumping jacks. It is also very important that you hold each stretch long enough. We suggest 10 to 30 seconds. It takes time to lengthen tissue safely. Wear a watch or keep an eye on the clock to make sure you are holding your stretches long enough. Always feel free to repeat stretches as well. I like to hold my stretches for at least 20 seconds. So today we will be holding our stretches for a full 20 seconds. It might be tempting, but also don't bounce as you're stretching. Bouncing as you stretch can cause small tears or micro tears in the muscle, which can leave scar tissue. The scar tissue tightens the muscles even further. This causes you to become less flexible and could even cause some pain. Try to focus on a pain-free stretch. If you feel pain as you stretch, you've gone too far. Back off to the point where you don't feel any pain and then hold the stretch there. It's also important that as you're stretching, you try to relax and breathe freely. Don't hold your breath while you're stretching. Take deep and purposeful breaths. We'll talk a little bit more about this later. It's also very important to always stretch on both sides of your body. Make sure your joint range of motion is as equal as possible on each side of your body. If you do one stretch on one side of your body, you need to do the same stretch for the same amount of time on the other side of your body. And last but not least, stretch before and after all of your activities. Typically, you can do light stretching after your warm-up and before your exercise, followed by a more thorough stretching regimen after your workout is done. So, now that we know our proper stretching techniques, let's get to stretching.
Okay, are you ready to get to stretching? As I mentioned earlier, it's first good to warm up a little bit. I've already warmed up. You should warm up for about 5 minutes, but I do typically like to run in place. So I'll do this maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I also like to do jumping jacks, get a couple of those in, and it really just kind of gets your body moving, and it also gets your heart rate up a little bit. So always do that before you stretch. So when I stretch, this is a simple stretching routine I do before I do yoga and other exercises and even sports. The first thing I like to do is I like to just take a big stretch to the sky. It feels so good. So I put my hands up like this, stretch up big and tall, put your feet about hip width apart, just stretch. You can even go up on your tippy toes if you like. Kind of works out your calf muscles. Maybe sway to the left and right a little bit. Oh, just feels great. Big stretch first. We actually call this mountain pose, where we start, and to have your feet hip width apart, take both of your fists, put them in between your feet, and that should be exactly hip width apart. So we'll start that in our yoga practice and also when we're stretching. The next thing I like to do is I like to stretch my neck on both sides and in front and the back. Of course, if you have neck injuries, please be careful when you do this part. First, you'll go to the right. And like I mentioned earlier, I like to hold that for a good 20 seconds or so. And then we move to the left. And roll around to the back and look up. And then forward and look down. Back up. Next, I like to cross my arms across my chest, like this. Your right arm goes across your body, your left arm holds that up. And this really stretches out your shoulders, your upper arms. Good stretch. And then you'll switch. Put your left arm over the front side of your body. Take your right arm. Hold it back. That good stretch in your shoulders and in your arm. Next, I like to do a little bit of a tricep stretch. I interlock my hands, put them up, and then I put them behind my head, and I push my elbows back. Make sure my back is nice and straight. Push those elbows back. You'll really see the triceps working. You'll feel it too. This feels really good. It also stretches up your upper back as well. And then from here, I just take my elbow, my right arm, my elbow, push it up with my left hand. Should look like this in the back. And then you'll switch. Left arm, right hand. And again, this is another tricep stretch. You should feel it up there in your upper arms. And as you can see, I'm kind of going from the top to the bottom. That's how I like to stretch. So the next part I'm going to focus on is the lower back. There are two ways to do lower back twists. It's up to you how you prefer to do them. You can simply stand up and do a twist. You go like this. Crossing my right arm in front of me. My left one is in the back just like this. You should feel a nice stretch in your lower back. And then you would switch. Feel that good stretch. You can also do it sitting. So when you do a lower back stretch sitting, put my legs out, my right leg crosses my left. I put my left elbow on my right knee and twist. I actually prefer this one better. I feel like I get a deeper stretch in my lower back. I also, my lower back tends to hurt sometimes because I'm getting a little bit older, so this actually feels really good to stretch it out like this on the floor. And then to switch, just cross your left leg like this, right elbow, deep stretch. You can hear my back just cracked. Nice deep stretch. And you should be holding these for about 20 seconds. I'm moving through them a little bit quicker because we're doing a video, but when you are doing them on your own, it's great to have a timer and make sure you're really doing a full 20 seconds. If you don't want to do 20 seconds, at least do 10. All right. So next I'm gonna move down to my legs and my chest. So I like to do a knee to chest stretch, and all it is I bring up my right knee and I give it a nice big hug like this. I feel like I balance a little bit better if I flex my foot, not point it, but that's up to you. This is also a good precursor to some balancing poses that we will do. And when you do any kind of standing stretch or standing pose, you don't want to lock up your knee completely. You don't want to pass out. So always have a good little bend in your knee when you do this and a nice straight back. So you'll do your other side. You really feel this in your hips, a little bit in your upper legs, into your butt a little bit. So this feels nice. All right, next we're gonna do a leg stretch for your calves. You guys are probably familiar, so hip width apart, just put your left foot, leg behind you like this. You can even kind of pop up your chest a little bit, get a little stretch there. So after you do your left side, you'll do your right side. Again, you're balancing a little bit here. And this is what this stretch should look like from the back. Put your arm out a little bit, that'll help you balance. I have another hamstring stretch I like to do. This is also standing. You'll want your feet hip width apart and bend your knees a little bit. And you're simply just gonna reach forward. Try to touch your toes if you can. You don't have to. You can also put your hands behind your legs. You wanna try to get down as flat as possible. So it should look like this. So if you can get to the floor, kind of tuck your head in. You can also hold your legs like this. You might actually get a deeper stretch this way. I'm pretty flexible, so this actually gets me into a deeper stretch. When you get done with the middle, you can go to each side as well. So just kind of walk your hands to the right. You can hold your leg as well. You'll feel this in your right calf right here and into your butt. And then walk your hands over to the left and do the same thing. And then you can stand back up. The next is actually called a four-figure stretch. It is also called a one-legged chair pose, which is actually a yoga position as well. You'll notice a lot of our yoga positions are also good stretching positions. A lot of yoga positions stretch out your body really well, like we talked about. So you'll see a little bit of overlap here. So for a figure four stretch, it's also a balancing pose. Put your leg up, a little slight bend. You'll cross whichever leg you like. I have my right leg over my knee. Flex it, and I just kind of go down like this, like you're sitting in a chair. This really, you can feel it right here and in the back of your legs. And you can go like this if that's all you can do, or you can go down further. Just make sure that your leg is not on top of your kneecap. Make sure it's up here because that could cause some injury. You can also, or you can switch, but you can also, I'll show you in a second, you can do this lying down, and it is called a reclined pigeon, which is also a yoga position. Pigeon is another pose we'll talk about. I am not fond of pigeon. It actually hurts my knees a little bit. So I do reclined pigeon, which is basically figure four laying on your back. And it should look like this. Lay down. Put your knees up. Simply cross this leg over your other leg, flat, just like we would be almost standing. And I pull it up like this. Hold on to your leg. Pull it in closer to you. You'll get a really good stretch here when you pull it in closer. And then you would switch. Go like this. You always want to make sure you do both sides of your body. It's very important to have balance. When we do a full yoga routine, especially flow yoga, you will do the same moves on one side of your body as you do the other. And if you take any kind of modifications, you always want to make sure that you're doing those same modifications on that other side of the body as well. And we'll talk more about that. But balance is very important. What you do on the left, you need to do on the right. So we get out of our reclined pigeon. Next, I like to do a low lunge. This is also another yoga position you'll hear me teach you and talk about. There are various variations of a low lunge. Go like this, put your leg flat back, put your hands straight, your knee straight. You want to make sure your knee is over your ankles. You don't want it too far above, that can hurt your ankles. You never want it to go over your toes. So you can stay like this and get a good stretch right here and right here. If you don't think this is difficult enough for you, you can always pop this leg up like this as well. You can also do a twist if you'd like. Their knee either up or down. This also kind of gives you a good back stretch. If you want to get real fancy, you can put your arms up like this. If you do that, make sure they're by your ears, straight up with your hands. If you want to make it really hard, you can also go straight in front of you like this. Do the other side. I like to pop my leg up. Do a little twist. Come back up. Next, we're going to go a little bit lower. I call this a frog stretch. This is a good hip opener. Go like this. You kind of look like a frog. You can almost hop. And you can if you want. That's always fun. Gives you a little cardio too. If you've done yoga before, you can also do what we call a Balasana squat or a yogi squat. And it's a little bit deeper. So you put your feet out like this. Your butt tries to go straight to the ground. Put your elbows out. Put your hands at prayer position like this. You have your Malasana squat. Or if that's a little too hard, you can always go to that simple frog pose as well. That helps open your hips. From here, I'm going to go ahead and get down on the ground. I'm going to do a butterfly stretch. You guys are probably familiar with that. Put your feet together. Try to get them as close to your body as you can. If not, this is okay as well. Pull them in. Take your elbows. Try to stretch them as close as you can. And like I mentioned earlier, if it hurts, don't do it. You'll gradually get there. You want to do a gentle stretch. We don't want to hurt our bodies. Always listen to your body when you're doing yoga, whether it's stretching or going through the poses. From here, I like to spread out my legs. Get them as wide as you can without it hurting. I like to go down in the middle. Just go as flat as you can. If you can only do this, that's okay. But I like to try to walk my hands out as much as I can. You can get your elbows down to the ground, that's even better. You really feel this right up in here. We'll go over to the left. You can stretch straight down. If you want to kind of take it over, get a little back stretch in there, you can do that as well. And then walk it over to the other side. Open it up for a stretch. Walk it back to the middle. Now I like to put my legs together, like this. You want to stretch, try to touch your toes as best as you can, or at least get them here at the bottom of your legs if you can, or your elbows to the floor. If you can touch your feet even better. Try to keep that flat back. you're super flexible and you have a yoga block, which I don't have one here with me, you can actually put it at the end of your feet and hold it like that if you need a little bit deeper of a stretch. All right. Next, my final stretch I like to do, this just feels really good. We typically do this at the end of our yoga practice as well. This is called a supine spinal twist. You're gonna lay on your back. I'm gonna cross my right over my left first. And you just gently kind of fall over like this. You wanna keep this top of your body though flat on the ground, or twist a little bit. You wanna keep it straighter than the rest. Your arms will go out to a T. Put your opposite arm to your knee. You wanna look over your hand. Come up, cross over, like this, and twist. You can curl your leg if you want, and keep it straight. Get a deeper stretch if you pull it straight. And then we come up. The last thing I like to do is I like to end my stretch routine the same way I started it. A great big stretch to the sky. You even want to interlock your hands a little bit. If you want to do a slight back bend, you can. Whatever you're comfortable with. Stretch up and down. You should be stretched and warmed up. If you want to do anything twice, feel free. If there's another stretch that you like to do, just want to make sure those muscles are nice and warmed up so we can begin our yoga practice.
Now, let's talk a little bit about breathing. Breathing is automatic. Your body brings in and sends out air without you even having to think about it. Because breathing is automatic, though, we often take it for granted. Conscious breathing is an important part of yoga and often the way we time and move through our poses. Your breathing may be on autopilot now, but some simple exercises can help you connect with your breath and tap into the calming effects of breathing intentionally. There are many ways to breathe. Whether you know it or not, you probably have a personal breathing style. Is your breathing shallow or is it deep? Is it fast or is it slow? Do you breathe into the chest or deep into your belly? Most people breathe shallowly most of the time. This is called chest breathing. This type of breathing only uses part of your lung capacity. Belly breathing is when you take nice, long, deep breaths that come from your belly or your diaphragm. So, how can you tell if you're a chest breather or a belly breather? Well, place one hand on your chest and one on your stomach. When you breathe in, which one raises higher, your chest or your stomach? Are you a chest breather? Well, no worries. You can train your body to breathe differently and more efficiently. You can do this by using the muscles around and below your chest to push air through your entire lungs. You'll get more oxygen-rich blood moving through your body this way. Also, breathing techniques can be quite therapeutic. They help to trigger relaxation, reduce stress and anxiety, and even lower blood pressure. Focused breathing exercises are simple, quick, and can be done anywhere. We're going to go over a few today, and we will continue to work on our breathing at the beginning of our weekly classes.
Now that we know why and how we breathe, we're going to practice taking those deep breaths we talked about, that intentional breathing. Through our yoga practice, we often use our breath to count out our poses and how fast we're moving through our poses. Breathing is essential. So let's learn about how to take some good deep breaths. And not only is good breathing good for yoga, it's also good to distress as well. So you'll have to check out Miss Karen's yoga video this week. She talks about stress and making a stress ball. So this can also be a good stress reliever as well to do with your stress ball and with your breathing. So first, let's just take a good deep breath. You want to make sure that your shoulders aren't up here, because this makes us want to chest breathe. So you want to kind of roll them up, roll them back, make sure your chest is nice and open. You also, if you're breathing properly, you should kind of have a balloon belly. So when you breathe in, your balloon goes in, you breathe out, fills back up, okay? So we're gonna take a deep breath. And the best thing to do is go in front of a mirror. See what you're looking like. See if your shoulders are moving or if your stomach is moving. You really want to take those deep stomach breaths down here from your diaphragm, all right? So I'm gonna inhale for 5 seconds and then exhale. So I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. So I will do that again. Stand this way so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So in through your nose, out through your mouth. You can also do countdown breathing. This is really great, especially in a stressful moment, where you can take 10 seconds to take those good deep breaths and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is also, it's hard to breathe and count out loud, I guess, but you can time it as well. But just those deep intentional breaths to really just take a second to relax, and whatever is bothering you, just let it go. The next thing I like to do to kind of show you how you breathe, it is called nose breathing. And I'm going to get down on the ground because I think it's a little bit easier. You're just going to take your index finger and your thumb, and you're going to alternate between each of your nostrils. You're going to breathe in through one side, and you're going to breathe out the other. So this is really going to make you think about your breath and how you're breathing and where it's coming from. So you would breathe in for 5 seconds and out the other. So I will demonstrate. Switch. Then in through this nostril. Switch. Just go back and forth like that, and breathe in, breathe out, and you'll go 1, 2, then you'll inhale in that one, the same one that you've exhaled in. Like I said, this is good for that intentional breathing. It also has you in a different position, so when you're sitting down, you may want to hike up your shoulders a little bit more, just up and back. So it's another good breathing exercise that you can try. The last one I like to do is a little bit more fun. It's also I teach you a couple yoga positions here real quick. We're gonna go into what we know as tabletop. So you're gonna sit on your knees like this, nice and straight, feet out like this. Then you're gonna put your hands in front of you, hands beneath your shoulders, and you want your knees between your hips. I like to spread out my hands a little bit so you get a good grip. This is called tabletop. And we're gonna breathe in, and we're gonna kind of curl up like this. This is called cat. And when you breathe out, we call this cow. Okay, so you're gonna breathe in. Then out. Got your cat. And your cow. You can do this a couple of times. It also feels good on your back. You breathe in, you'll go up. You exhale, you'll go into your cow. If you're a little bit younger and you want to have a little bit more fun with it, there's a lot of yoga moves in 4-H yoga that are named after animals. And one of them is the lion. We like to do our big lion's breath. So it's pretty much the same thing. But you're gonna make an audible noise when you breathe out like lion. So we'll breathe in. Just expel all that air and just roar like a lion. We'll do it one more time. Deep breath in. Feels good. That's also a good stress reliever too. You just feel like you kind of need to give a little scream out. You're a little stressed. That's a great one too. So try those breathing exercises at home. We will do a little bit of a breathing exercise at the beginning of each of our yoga lessons, just so you're in the mindset of breathing. It's really easy to forget about your breathing. So if we do those intentional exercises, get that intentional breathing going, we should be off to a good start. Thank you for joining us today. You are off to a great start on your 4-H yoga journey. Next week, we'll begin learning some of the essential yoga poses that you'll need for your practice. Once we know how to properly do those poses, we can begin putting them together into a flow type of yoga routine. If you aren't wanting to end your yoga practice just yet today, check out our other great Moving Monday video with Miss Karen. She will show you how to make a balloon stress ball and a relaxation bracelet you can do while you practice your breathing exercises at home. We hope to see you next time for some more 4-H yoga. Have a great week and namaste.